Hi everyone, it's Bill from Bill Colville's YouTube channel. Today we were just going to show you some basic maintenance tips for pre-season to get the bikes ready to ride and show you maybe some tools that might be good to purchase if you don't already have them. But we have a couple of different bikes that we're going to be doing today. We'll try it on a road bike, try it on a mountain bike, and like I said, these are basic tips, so really these you perform them yourself. I think it'll work that way. Here we go.
Hey everybody, we're going to do a little bit of maintenance here on my road bike, getting it ready for this upcoming season. One of the things that you want to definitely check with, and we're going to start with today, is air in the tires. This one's a pretty easy one, but having my bike in storage over the winter, that's definitely a culprit where you can get air leaks and start to get that low tire pressure, so you'll want to make sure you check that before you go out for the season. So basically you want to find your valve cap. Take off the cap. Make sure you store that somewhere. I've lost a ton of these if I haven't had a bucket or anything like this. Luckily I've got a place to put them here on my stand. And then that exposes the valve. This specifically is a Presta, so it has a little extra screw off that you have to do in order to get to the air. You can hear that. That's different than a Schrader valve, which is what you would see kind of more on cars and some lower end bicycles, a lot of kids' bikes. Once that's unscrewed, you can get your air pump, and any good bike pump will allow you to do either a Schrader or a Presta valve. I really like my specialized air tool. I've had this for a long time. You put that on there, open up the seal, and then now you can pump away, get you right back up to your air pressure. I'm looking at here now, I'm well below 20 psi, and these tires I like to ride them close to 70, so a lot of air leakage over the winter, but that's pretty common when it's sort of sitting in an area in the cold. So we'll get these pumped right back up, and that'll help to check to make sure we also don't have any anything that could create flat in the tire. So we'll start with that. The next thing you want to look at is the drivetrain, specifically your rear cog and your chain. You want to make sure that's clean and ready to go. If it's not clean, you can get yourself, if you don't already have one, a nice chain cleaner. This one's by Muck Off, but there's a lot of different companies out there that do that. What you do is you basically put it down here on your chain, you lock in, close this up. You get your cleaning fluid, you pour that in the top, and then you cycle your drivetrain while holding onto this. My chain's relatively clean. I cleaned it at the end of last season, so I don't need to do that. However, once you clean your chain, and for me to start out the season, you're going to want to lube it up. That's pretty easy as well. You get yourself some lube. You can get that really at any store. Grab yourself a nice rag. Make sure it's all shooken up. And you're just going to want to apply a nice liberal amount to the chain so that you're good for the season. Now once you cycle through and you lube it up, it's important to kind of switch through some of the gears so that you can get that lube throughout your drivetrain. So while you're pedaling it, you can just switch it up. Kind of spread that lube out throughout the rear cog. And then once you've done that, you can come back in and wipe off any excess. So we can talk about a few other products that I like to use when cleaning my bike. I like to use this degreaser. This thing is like magic. I found it a couple years ago, and it works great. I'm not sure what's in it, so I can't vouch for that, but if you really need to clean off your cogs, your chains, things like that, this really works well. I would use it in an outdoor environment, but this is very helpful. If you're cleaning any other parts of your bike, you can get a lot of different other products. This green fizz, I use that if I need to wipe down the frame or anything that might be a little delicate, but that's really good for giving your bike a wash. Again, maybe it's after the season or leading into the new season. Some other products that I found to be pretty helpful, some you can buy and some you can find. This is a grunge brush. It's made specifically for getting in and sort of cleaning out some of the grunge and some of the nasty bits of your chain. It even has this sort of tri-brush feature, which is meant to kind of do the same thing that the chain cleaner was doing earlier there. So kind of a simpler way to do it, but also very handy to have to help clean up and help get to some of those tight spots to get some of that grunge out of there. But if you're just looking around your house, you can also find some really helpful stuff as well. An old toothbrush works wonders. As you can see here, make sure you don't put it in your mouth once you've used it, but very helpful, doing the same thing that this is doing, being able to really get inside those gears and getting in some of that area where you're accumulating all that muck that you want to get out, especially as you're going into a new season. Another thing that's really important is you want to go over your bike and check some of the critical points to make sure nothing is loosened up. I'd recommend taking a look at your seat. You want to make sure that these bolts are all tightened, whether you have a torque wrench or you just have your trusty Allen keys. You want to make sure you go in there and sort of feel to make sure nothing is loose and nothing's going to shift on you when you take that first ride. This one's nice and tight. You can kind of feel it, kind of give it a shake, and you can kind of feel that everything's nice and tight. The seat seems on really good, so I think we're good there. Looking at your pedals, making sure that those feel nice and tight, kind of feeling if there's any slop or if there's any slip. Depending on your pedal type, coming in from the back with an Allen key is super helpful, or if you have a pedal wrench and you need to come at it from this angle. But making sure that pedal's on there tight, very important. And then as you go to the cockpit, making sure that everything here is set up. You don't want any wiggle in your bars, and you want to make sure that everything is nice and set to the torque guide so that you don't have to worry about anything shaking or getting into an accident because you didn't tighten something up. But yeah, just checking the bike over, making sure everything's good. Like I said, you can use your Allen key or a torque wrench. Any of those will work. And then lastly, just basic, you want to take a look at your brakes. You want to look at the brake pads themselves or your calipers, see if there's anything that looks out of place, or maybe you ran over something, you got some twigs or something caught in the spokes or around your brake pads. Make sure you pick those out because anything like that's going to affect your braking power. I like to just, cycle the wheel with just a hand turn and then go up and just give that a feel to kind of feel how my brakes are feeling and where the point of braking starts. Do that for the front and do it for the back as well. You can kind of get a feel for it and see how well it's reacting. My bike feels pretty good, but if you feel like that's off, if you feel like you're comfortable doing it yourself, then you can go ahead and take a look at that. There's a lot of times there's the different settings here you can tweak. If you don't feel comfortable doing that, that's something you can take to a bike shop and they'll have no problem getting in and out for you. All right, well now we can go to a little bit different type of bike here and we can talk about my mountain bike. As you can see, I left this one a little dirty. Had a couple last minute rides before the weather changed and I was hoping I might get one more in, and then got a little lazy and didn't clean it before we had the dead of winter here. So this is definitely one I'll have to take and clean before I start riding in the spring. But I just wanted to show you something I thought was kind of useful in cleaning bikes. Sort of a weed sprayer. A lot of people get these. You can get them at your local hardware stores, but they're super helpful for bikes. You fill this thing up, and they have different sizes. You pump to pressurize, and now you have a pressurized stream of water that you can go to, especially with this nozzle, to really get in and get some of those crevices to clean out your bike. You can adjust the nozzle to really adjust how intensive a spray it is, but it's not going to be something that's going to damage your bike frame or damage any of the components, which why I'm a big proponent of this as well. If you're going on a big trip, maybe especially mountain biking, or you're taking bike packing somewhere where you might run into some muddy conditions, it's pretty easy to pack this in a car and use it to clean down the bike before you head back. or even, wash off you if you fall in the mud a little bit, which I've definitely done. So can't recommend this enough. Pretty cheap. I can't remember how much this one was, but any local home goods store or even online, you'll be able to find these pretty readily available. So one of the other things that we can talk a little bit about when preparing a mountain bike for the season would be the shocks. Obviously a little bit different than some of the road bike we just looked at, but even on e-bikes and a lot of different bikes now, they'll have shocks. One of the things you can do is you can get yourself a shock pump. Now this is a specific pump meant for the volume that goes in either a front shock or sort of the rear shock. It allows you to kind of dial in the pressure. And again, that's something that over a season of riding or leaving the bike for a while can change. And you want to make sure that that's set up for you. If you don't feel comfortable with this is something that can be easily done at a bike shop. But if you do, it's just a specialized pump that you buy. Just like anything else, you can open up the valves, attach your shock pump, and then you look at the dial and how much sag and rebound you like, and you pump that up according to what you prefer. Very easy to do. And the same thing on a front shock. You locate where your valve is. On this one, it's on the far side here. You unscrew that top, and you can pump up the air fork to your liking. The other thing that is unique about this bike, but many of you might have, is what's called the dropper post. So this is the seat, and it's attached to a lever up here that allows you to get this in and out of the way when mountain biking. But I think you're going to start to see these on a lot of touring bikes and other bikes in general, because it's nice to be able, if you're climbing a hill or coming down a hill, and the seat's bucking around a little bit on you, you don't want the seat to be as high because that can cause some problems. So again, because this is a device similar to the shock, you want to cycle this a little bit at the beginning of your season, because you can get crud in it, as you can see here, but just to sort of lube up the whole process so that it runs smoothly. So the best thing to do is just to cycle it a few times so that you can kind of get it back to its normal working order. And you can see here, mine's working pretty well. But once I clean the bike, I'll go back in, make sure that this is specifically clean, the seal, and if I need to lube anything up to kind of keep the system working, we'll do that. But that's definitely something you want to check out if you do have a dropper post. So yeah, so we'll keep. Another thing that you're going to want to check, and sometimes is overthought, is your packs. Whether they're on the bike or a hip pack like this that you take with you. All those consumables, you want to make sure you don't go out on a ride and you don't have a CO2 canister or something like that. So it's always good to make sure you check, go through your packs. I've got a med kit here, making sure you got the bandages in case you used any of those. Like I said, if you have a CO2 canister, maybe you use that and you strap that on and you used 1 or 2 last year. Spare tubes, quick links, anything like that that you're taking with you. You want to check your packs before you leave out on your next trip, because you don't want to be out and be missing something that if you just would have taken a look, you could have replenished. Another very important thing that sometimes is overlooked is your helmet. You want to really check this over for any cracking on the outside, any dents or severe discolorations. You also want to look on the inside. Is the foam there? Is there anything that's degrading or bent out of place? Because if any of that is yes, you're really going to want to get yourself a new helmet. It's not something you want to go a season without if it's not in good working order. Your head's the most important thing. You definitely want to protect that. So make sure you check your helmet before going out for that next season.
All right, I hope these tips help you out and you're able to perform these yourself. Like I said, most of them were pretty basic, but it's that time of year to do it, because pretty soon the weather's going to be turning nice again. We're going to get out there and we're going to have to saddle up and ride. Enjoy, folks.